Hi, Aaron. Is it holiday for you with the pitchers and catchers reporting?
Hello, Michael. Yeah, it is an exciting day, no question. And I'm glad you and I were able to plan this out for today. But it's, man, you get through the Super Bowl and it's like that just, I think baseball pops into sports fans and certainly baseball fans and certainly us that, where it's our livelihood. It's like that alarm bell, like, okay, here we go. It's the start of the.
Oh, no. That is a bad sign. You never get the bing like that. So we lost Aaron Boone about 40 seconds into the interview, but we'll get him back shortly. I guess the cell service is not that good, or maybe he didn't pay his bill. Who knows? But we'll get him back in just a moment. We're talking with Aaron Boone, Yankee pitchers and catchers, reporting today. He did talk with the assembled media at 1 o'clock, and now he's giving us some time. Is he there, Ray? Oh, there he is. Hey,
Yes.
Hey, Aaron, we lost you for a moment.
Sorry, where did I leave off?
You left off with what it means, exciting after football that, it's an alarm bell goes off now.
Yeah, it is that. It's like, man, here comes the start of the grind, the journey. The hope springs eternal, all those things that come with spring training and the excitement of what can be. And now we get to really get together as a group and hopefully start to go realize all our hopes and dreams as a team. But it is definitely, always has been and rings true now at 51 years of age, an exciting day on the calendar.
All right, so this happens with baseball fans when football ends. Now, this is your job. This is your business. This is your livelihood. But one of the things you have left as a fan is football, and you are a true blue Eagles fan. What did that Super Bowl win mean for you, and did you ever think that they would be as dominant as they were against Kansas City?
I mean, how can you expect them to blow out the Chiefs? No, I don't think I expected that. I felt like they were going to win. In fact, I think I had to put a prediction out there, and I had them winning by 10. But because I just felt like, I've watched this team a lot this year. I've been to a number of games, and I just felt like, and I've watched them all my life. And I said to my son a few weeks ago, I said, I feel like this is the most complete Eagles team I've ever seen. And it certainly looks like that held true. So I think it was a surprise that it was a blowout like it was, but they're just such a talented, deep, really no-flawed team, and it certainly showed.
All right, so let's talk about your Yankees. One thing that people don't like, and I said at the beginning of the show that I am of the belief that, losing Juan Soto hurt, but this team is actually better than the one with Juan Soto, and the owner of the team said that a couple of weeks back as well. Do you believe this team is better despite losing a great player like Soto?
I hope so. I mean, I'm in the we'll see business, like in the now, like it's February. I look at our team, and I love the pivot we made when we did miss out on him, and obviously we went to great lengths to try and bring him back. Because, we understand the value and just how outstanding and impactful of a player that he is. But I'm also, I think the front office did a great job of quickly pivoting and putting in place a team that, as we sit here at least on paper, has a chance to hopefully meet or exceed what we were able to do last year. But time will tell. We get to go prove it. We got to the World Series, so it's hard to say right now in February we're better. We hope to be, and we'll probably be a little bit different than we were last year. But I think that's what the off season brings. Sometimes there's different ways of getting it done. There's different whether it's attacking different strengths, adding to those, whether it's plugging holes on things that were weaknesses. In a lot of ways, you go into the off season with a little bit of a blank slate to try and supplement, and hopefully we can go out and it proves to be better in the end. But we got a long ways to go.
All right, so you were 3 wins away from your ultimate goal, which was winning the World Series. You lost in 5 games to the Dodgers. Do you need? I mean, Luke Weaver was saying today that could be a motivating factor. I mean, the Yankees always have the motivation to try to win a World Series, but losing a World Series that way, Aaron, Does that serve as an extra impetus to push your team forward?
I hope so. I mean, you're always looking for little things that can be, even if they're small, on the margin difference makers. And, the way we've talked about it, and I talked to the team after we lost, is hopefully for those of us that have come close and been in playoffs and, for me, my whole life, you're trying to get to the top of that mountain. And every time you come up a little bit short or you come up a lot short, hopefully it's a log on the fire is the way I put it, to keep that fire burning to reach the ultimate, the pinnacle, and that is to win a world championship. One thing I thought, one of the things I think is can be a difference maker for teams in all sports and a separator for a good team, great team, championship, whatever, is that next level of hunger. And I felt like that's something we had a lot last year. And whether that was coming off of not making the playoffs and just guys having just an edge and a really sharp focus even before spring training, I feel like it served us well and was a factor for us last year. But that's not a given. Even with real solid pros and really good people and like, it's not a given. I feel like you got to work for it. You got to fight for it. You got to have it. It's got to burn inside you. And I do think, differently than the year before where we didn't make the postseason, last year getting close and getting into the World Series and ultimately losing and not playing our best, I do think that can serve as a motivating factor. Will it? It remains to be seen. But it's our job to kind of pull that fire out of everyone, and hopefully it is something that can help in some small way propel us.
Would it be another log on the fire? Aaron, we're talking with Aaron Boone, the manager of the New York Yankees, as his team is reporting today, at least the pitchers and catchers. Is it another log on the fire that the Dodgers certainly, how do I put this? They were not gracious in their victory, and they said a couple of nasty things about the Yankees. I don't know how players react. I'm sure that you didn't take well to it, and the front office probably didn't like it. Mm-hmm. Were you surprised they went that route?
Yes, I did not like it, but I don't know if that bulletin board material stuff is necessary. Like, I feel like that fire's got to come from a different place. It's got to come from the internal, from each other, from how you push and motivate each other on a daily basis. Whether that does on some level, hard to say. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say I liked it, but and hopefully we're in a position to, be where they were. They're the champs, and the reality is they have the right to say whatever they want as the champion, and hopefully we're in that position this time next year, and like you said, hopefully we handle it with a little more class.
Do you believe, Aaron, that some of the stuff they said was true? I mean, do you think your team was lacking in fundamentals, that if when push came to shove that they were going to make mistakes? And if you do believe that there was any truth in it, is that something that you could work on this spring?
Absolutely work on it. And I think there's little truths that when a game doesn't something doesn't happen, it becomes kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, you make an error, whether you're a great fielding team or you're not, and that costs you, and certainly when you're on the stage of the World Series, that narrative is going to blow and maybe even be exaggerated. As far as the focus on the fundamentals, like, it's always a focus, and that won't change this year. Like, sometimes your team and how you build it, again, varies, where you have different strengths and weaknesses every year. It's very hard to put together a perfect club every year, but we pay very close attention to the details. We work very hard on those things. And that won't change this year. Like, we will continue to lean into trying to get our players to be the best they can be in every facet of the game. And hopefully that in the end is good enough.
All right, not that it means anything coming from me, but when I look at your team, I think it's clearly the best team in the American League. But there are some questions that I have, and I want to ask you. Mm-hmm. You have come out and said that you're going to put Dominguez in left field. Now, we had on Brian Cashman on the Hot Stove Show on Yes. He said, well, that's not set in stone. He said, we'll see how it plays out in spring training. But I want to ask you, I think such a key for the Yankees this year is how Dominguez does. And he's obviously more comfortable in center field, and Bellinger has said he'd play left. And Dominguez really struggled in left field. So why go that route rather than have DeMartian be comfortable in center?
Well, in the end, we will. We feel like we have a really good runway. I think part of the reason he had some struggles, and again, at the end of the day, like, the struggles are a couple of balls in a place where he didn't have a ton of experience. And that's the one thing with Jason right now is not only in left field, especially, but anywhere. Like, he doesn't have a ton of experience for as talented as he is and as excited as we are about him. And I certainly I feel like I've always been the high man on him. Like, I think he's going to be a great player.
You have.
He didn't have a lot of experience. And I feel like with the runway we have now in spring training, he's been down here for about the last 10 days, 2 weeks, working every day in left field. Louis Rojas is here working with him every day. And that'll continue. We'll get a good idea of what we're dealing with. And the hope is that he can. And part of that, for me, the calculus is why I hope that is the case is because I feel like I want to have potentially the best, defensive alignment and your best defensive players potentially at your premium positions. And part of the thought process is, yes, I know I can move Bellinger anywhere. And so take a night or a week or let's say Giancarlo's down and I'm DHing Judge. I have no issue moving Belly anywhere on the field. So I pop Belly over, and it just so happens that our other outfielder is Trent Grisham. And one of the big reasons he's on our team is because he's an elite defender in center field. So I don't want to get in the caught having to move Jason back and forth on where he's moving positions all the time, because I do want him to be comfortable. Now, if we get to the end of spring training or late in spring training, and I feel like it's not optimal for us or optimal for Jason, then we feel like we can always move him back to center and adjust how we have to. But I want to at least give it an opportunity to see what it looks like on a regular basis with Jason out and left.
Now, when we talked to Brian last week, he said that when you guys acquired Chisholm, it was to play second base, and that Torres refused to move over to third, and you made the decision, you know what, I'm going to keep him at second, move Jazz to third, and Jazz was very good at third. Number one, were you surprised that Glaber said he didn't want to move? And number two, is Jazz your second baseman this year?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say exact. Like, when we got Jazz, I think, a lot of people wanted him to come to play second. I did not want to move Glaber. I just felt like I didn't think moving him in the middle of the season to third base, in my opinion, would not have been successful. Okay. And the fact that Jazz was coming from having played mostly center field that year and had played kind of all over the diamond, at least in the middle of the field at different times in his career, when he was open to play third, I wanted to see how that looked. And right away, I mean, if you remember the Boston and then even the Philly series, it was like he's making plays over there that almost nobody makes. So it was kind of successful. Now, Glaber was definitely lukewarm to moving over there, but it was on the table. And my conversations with Glaber were, hey, I'm not doing it now, but it may come into play. And it ended up working out that obviously Jazz settled in at third, did a really good job over there. And then Glaber obviously, was just such a key player for us the final couple months of the season. So, it's more my initial thought was I wanted to see what we had with Jazz at third.